Hey, it's Chris and Brian here again from Resolve Technology. And today, Chris wants to talk about Warmcookie. It's a backdoor piece of malware. I don't know anything about this, but Chris does. And he's going to talk a little bit about how this gets set up on your computer.
Yeah, so this is the backdoor, and it's pushed via these fake job offers. They're just phishing campaigns, phishing emails. And I guess it was the malware named Warmcookie for this fake job offer. Elastic Security Labs discovered this campaign, and it's pretty extensive what it can do. So it makes it look like a real job offer. They're actually creating domains just like you would for a company, setting up a fake landing page for an internal recruitment platform with like real job recruitment details in there, and it redirects the user to a landing page that mimics like a legitimate recruitment platform.
And that all looks pretty legit to me. Like looking at this on screen, it looks pretty legit.
So the other thing is once you get to the that's what the captcha's for, to make it look legit. I guess once you submit that, it downloads this file update_date 5689382, and it's a obfuscated JavaScript file. And essentially what the script does is it runs a PowerShell script that uses a Windows service with the acronym BITS to download this Warmcookie DLL file from a URL and then executes it. And it's
just so people know.
Yeah.
This is all happening in the background. Like these are services that run in Windows. It's hooking into these services. Like you can't see all this stuff going on. It's to the end user. You don't see this stuff.
I mean, every now and then with certain malware, you might see PowerShell prompts pop up on your screen, but they're usually pretty good. They can hide it from you. So it saves it to the C program data, RTL up UPD. And then it's creating a scheduled task that's repeated every 10 minutes for the duration of one day. And scheduled tasks, just know that's often something IT administrators might use to automate certain things or to do various day-to-day activities for your company's operations. But it can also be used maliciously. We've seen before, they make it look like a Windows service. An IT person might glance over it, but it's actually like some kind of malware, some persistent foothold they were trying to gain to a server, for example, we've seen before. But then in the final setup phase, Warmcookie establishes communication with its command and control server and begins fingerprinting the victim's machine. It'll grab things like IP address of your machine, the processor, you got all kinds of system information.
So let's stop there for a second and just talk about the command and control is basically the hacker's server that talks to your computer, because now you have this communication path back and forth because this scheduled task is running and constantly chattering with the command and control server that the hacker has. And this allows the hacker to gather more information to use against you.
Yeah, so the thing is, so it gets into the system, right? But the thing that makes this pretty lethal is it's trying to get a persistent foothold to your system and gather intelligence from the victim's computers. In the first stage of its operation, they're saying it collects the key information, like I mentioned, from the host. So serial number, DNS domain, computer name, username, and encrypts that data and sends it to the remote host. But the main capabilities of it are retrieve that information. It can capture screenshots using Windows native tools like snipping, paint, all kinds of things. Enumerate installed programs via the registry key. It can execute commands using command prompt and sends them out to the remote host. It can drop files on specified directory and paths. So this is why remote access is such a big deal. A lot of remote tools we use even can send files to these remote hosts that you're you know what I mean? So it's got a lot, and if it has a persistent foothold onto a system, and it could just sit there for months, and you might not even know it's on there, and then a moment's notice, something big happens, and they traverse your network. Another thing I want to mention is that this fake landing page is that they're actually creating domains like mywebsite.com and mimicking these sites. There are methods that we use typically with the firewall products we use that you could block, for example. Let me sign in here. So if I go to a web filter, there's all kinds of category-based blocking. There's a section in here for newly observed and newly registered domain. So if this was blocked, for example, something like this recruitment site, if you clicked on that phishing campaign in the email, it'd probably just give you a block page. So That's not foolproof, though. It's not going to catch all of them because the firewall has its own little database where it observes newly registered domains that are in use. But it's just another way, another layer to secure your digital landscape of your business, I guess you could say.
That's a good point. So in an ideal world, like this is set to monitor, that's just Chris's lab. In an ideal world, if you wanted your company to be totally secure, you would block new domains. But you got to be careful because sometimes we've run into this where suddenly a client is talking to somebody who just set up a new website or something, and then they can't get to it. And so we have to unblock it. But if you want to be, you want to have security in mind, that's what you do. Instead of monitor, you would block it. And we have these other tools like that work on the workstations where not just the firewall, but for like the remote workers, you can do the same thing. They usually allow you to block all newly observed domains or monitor it or whatever. So not just the firewall, but you can also do it in the workstation end. Go ahead, Chris.
So it looks like they updated it since we first found this article here. I guess that they wanted to correct that this is not a new backdoor. It was previously discovered back in 2023, and that's another story here.
Okay.
Doing the same thing. So yeah, and I'm sure we'll see more malware like this in the future. Whatever the malicious actors are always trying to gain some kind of foothold into systems, pull information that they could use to then exploit an organization or its employees.
That's a bad one. So keep up with your firewall logs, keep up with all your settings, and make sure that your antivirus is running 24/7. All right, we'll wrap it up there, Chris. Thanks a lot.
All right, have a good one.
You too.